Imagine you're standing at the edge of a forest at night. You hear something moving in the darkness. You can't see it, you can't predict it, and you don't know what it is. Is it harmless? Or dangerous? Your body tenses, your heart pounds, and your brain screams one message: get away. But here's the strange part. It's not the sound itself that scares you. It's the fact that you don't know what it means. This is the psychology of uncertainty, the hidden force that shapes our fears, decisions, and even our future. From the earliest days of humanity, the unknown has always terrified us. Our ancestors feared what lay beyond the mountains, what lurked beneath the ocean, and what might happen when the sun went down. The dark was never just the absence of light. It was the presence of uncertainty. And while we may live in a world filled with maps, data, and technology, that primal fear hasn't left us. Today, the unknown doesn't always come as a shadow in the woods. It comes as an unanswered job application, a sudden medical test, or a text message that reads, "We need to talk." No matter how advanced we become, our brains react the same way they always have, by filling the silence of the unknown with the noise of fear. But why exactly do we fear uncertainty so deeply? And more importantly, how can understanding this fear help us overcome it? Think of a moment you've been left waiting. Maybe you've gone through a job interview. Days pass. You hear nothing. Each time your phone buzzes, your stomach flips. The silence doesn't mean rejection, but it also doesn't mean acceptance. And because your mind can't stand the unknown, it invents stories, most of them negative. Or maybe it's in relationships. You send someone you care about a heartfelt message. Minutes pass. Hours pass. Your brain starts whispering, maybe they don't feel the same. Maybe they're upset with me. Maybe it's over. That anxiety doesn't come from the message itself. It comes from the uncertainty. The unknown makes us vulnerable. It opens the door for fear, self-doubt, and worst-case scenarios. And because love is one of our deepest emotional needs, uncertainty in relationships becomes one of the most powerful sources of fear. To understand why this happens, we need to look at how the human brain evolved. Thousands of years ago, survival depended on prediction. If you could predict that the rustle in the grass was a predator, you lived. If you assumed it was nothing and ignored it, you might not. So our ancestors developed a survival bias. Always assume the worst about the unknown. This instinct still controls us today. Psychologists call it intolerance of uncertainty. Research shows that people with higher intolerance experience greater anxiety, stress, and even difficulty making decisions. Because the unknown feels unsafe, our brains try to close the gap. Sometimes by overthinking, sometimes by avoiding, and sometimes by clinging to what's familiar, even if it's harmful. That's why someone may stay in a toxic job, not because it's good, but because leaving it feels too uncertain. That's why people stay in bad relationships, because the pain they know feels safer than the pain they can't predict. The unknown is not just frightening. It's paralyzing. And in a world where uncertainty is constant, this can quietly steal away our freedom. But here's where the story turns. Not all fear of the unknown destroys us. Sometimes it pushes us to grow. During World War II, psychologists noticed something strange in London. People who stayed in the city during air raids, even though they lived through bombings, often reported less stress than those who evacuated to the countryside. Why? Because the uncertainty of will I be bombed today or not was more stressful than facing a known danger. This reveals a paradox. The unknown is often more terrifying than the known, even if the known is dangerous. Philosophers understood this long before psychologists studied it. Soren Kierkegaard called it the dizziness of freedom. When you look into the future, it's like staring into an endless abyss of possibilities. That freedom can feel empowering, but it can also feel dizzying because you don't know which path to choose. And yet, this is the heart of the human experience. Every breakthrough, every discovery, every love story began with stepping into the unknown. Think of explorers who crossed oceans without knowing what lay beyond. Think of inventors who created things the world had never seen. Think of the first time you confessed your feelings to someone, not knowing how they'd respond. The unknown is terrifying, but it's also where possibility lives. So how do we face this fear without letting it control us? Step 1. Reframe uncertainty. Psychologists suggest changing the question from, "What if I fail?" to "What if I grow?" The unknown doesn't only hide danger. It also hides opportunity. Step 2. Build tolerance through small steps. Like exposure therapy for fear, we can train ourselves to handle uncertainty. Take small risks. Try a new hobby. Speak to a stranger. By practicing with little unknowns, we prepare ourselves for bigger ones. Step 3. Use mindfulness. Most of the pain of uncertainty comes from the stories we invent. Mindfulness teaches us to stay with the present, to breathe, and to watch those thoughts without believing them. As Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Step 4. Remember the wisdom of history. The Stoics taught that we suffer more in imagination than in reality. 90% of the fears we create about the unknown never actually happen. And when they do, they are rarely as bad as our minds imagined. Uncertainty will never go away, but we can change our relationship with it. Instead of seeing it as a threat, we can see it as the birthplace of growth. Because in the end, the unknown is not just something to fear, it's where our future lives. So the next time you feel your chest tighten at the thought of the unknown, pause. Remind yourself, this feeling doesn't mean you're in danger. It means you're alive, standing at the edge of possibility. If we avoid the unknown, we stay trapped in the past. But if we learn to embrace it, even a little, we open ourselves to transformation. Yes, uncertainty is uncomfortable, but comfort zones never created greatness. The greatest chapters of your life, love, courage, discovery, all begin with a step into the dark. And speaking of steps, in our next video we'll explore another silent force that shapes our choices: procrastination. Why do we delay, even when we know it hurts us? How is procrastination connected to fear of uncertainty? And most importantly, how can we break free from it? Stay curious, stay brave, and remember, the unknown is not the enemy. It's the beginning.